Professor Vali Nasr, thanks you for accepting to be with us. We've been hearing a lot from you over the last 2 days, and I will take a few minutes of your time to, actually, on two questions. That will be easy and nice. The first question, I just heard your session. What may happen with Trump? And the second question is, what are the differences of the region with Trump will meet and face now compared with a few years ago?
So everybody's trying to predict what will happen with Trump. And
we ask you.
No, I
the
agree.
other one to predict, you know.
No, I agree. I'm just saying it sort of that this is the state of play right now. And it is very easy to look at his first term and say that this is just going to be a repeat. There is no doubt that some things carry over from the first term. Like we know he likes to bully people, he likes to push them, but we also know that he likes to make deals. And we also know that he thinks unconventionally, like he met with Kim Jong-un or he met with the Taliban. And thirdly, we know that he doesn't want war. He's very war averse. So these are sort of the broad things we know. So we know that he's coming to two issues in the Middle East. One is dealing with the reality of the Gaza war. And the second one is going back to the issue of Iran. And these two are connected at some level. When it comes to Gaza war, I think where is a big difference between Trump and Biden is that Biden was never able to sort of get control of the war. He was never able to influence Bibi Netanyahu. He didn't deliver on Gaza ceasefire, and he wasn't able to prevent the escalation of the war to Lebanon. And it looked like Bibi was on a roll to go from Gaza to Lebanon to Syria, Iraq, and ultimately Iran. I think Trump, if he so decides, he's much more capable and willing to actually exercise discipline on Israel. I mean, we're already seeing it. I mean, he's told on campaign trail to Netanyahu, finish the war, right? So that is going to be a big difference. And what that means is that we're already seeing talk of ceasefire in Lebanon, that this is going to stop, which means this is not going to be the big, expansive war that maybe Bibi thought that he ultimately will reshape the Middle East. So that's a big difference. But on the other hand, Trump is much more likely to basically allow Bibi to do whatever he wants with the Palestinians. In Gaza and in West Bank, maybe annex the West Bank. I mentioned that everybody's talking about the two-state solution, which is the ideal. But the reality is that we're going in the opposite direction. I mean,
but that will influence, if that happens, that will influence what happens with Iran. And what the reaction of the other country in the region on the U.S. policy with Iran. Won't that?
That's true, but I don't think he's thinking like that. He's thinking that, I'm going to stop. And actually, there are benefits to war not continuing even in the rest of the region. So, with Trump, it's not going to be one policy. It's going to be basically two policies. And then he's going to decouple, I think, the Gaza war and Lebanon from the rest of the region. So I think the rest of the region will be very angry over whatever happens in the West Bank, and the population will be very angry. But at some level, they're happy that the war is not going to come to Syria, Iraq, and the Gulf. If you go to war with Iran, the whole Gulf would be threatened. So I think this is the way it's going to be initially out there, but then Trump probably will learn on the job. He's going to hear from the Arab leaders. He's going to see what works and what doesn't work. Maybe they will allow annexation, and if there's a massive eruption in the Arab world, they will change his plans. But right now, he's coming in with the mindset, I don't want a regional war. I don't want a war with Iran. I may want to even sit down and talk to them. And Bibi needs to finish this war. And then, I'm fine with whatever he wants to do with Gaza and the West Bank. And the ambassador he sent to Israel is a huge signal in terms of where he's heading. And so I see a much more complicated picture with him than was the one with Biden.
But someone this morning floated the idea that there are two countries which are bullying the region at the same time. We believe they are below the law, above the law, sorry. Israel and Iran. And someone said this morning, but why all the effort to discipline Netanyahu? Maybe it's easier to discipline Iran. How would you comment on that?
Well, because for the region right now, Iran is not shaping the region. It's Israel that's shaping the region. I mean, the Arab publics are not focused on Iran. They're focused on what's happening in Gaza. Israel is sort of feels powerful, feels that it doesn't have any stops. Europe's backing it. America's backing it. It has military might. It basically is moving in a direction of become kind of like the superpower of the region. Exactly what the Arabs were afraid with Iran, it might now become Israel. So I think the Arabs are approaching this in a very balanced, rational way. They don't want either Iranians to dominate the region or Israelis to dominate the region. And they right now see the balance of power in the region has shifted. Hezbollah is destroyed, Hamas is destroyed, Iran was bombed and it's now much weaker. And so they're very concerned about if Israel thinks that this is too easy, it can just continue to go, what might be the consequences for the region. So discipline in Iran right now does not mean that Israel is going to stop, right, in a way.
But you mentioned in the panel you just finished that one new feature in the region, if compared with 8 years ago, is Iran signaling the willingness to have, I don't say a deal, but some kind of dialogue. What are these signals that you would mention to support this?
So the most powerful signal is that when a new president who's much more reformist came to power, the entire diplomatic team that negotiated the nuclear deal came back. This is the team that believes in engaging Europe, believes in a deal, and it was on the margins during the former hardline Iranian president's term. They came to power basically with the blessing of the supreme leader, which is basically a powerful signal. In fact, if the three people who were at the table in Geneva are back in power, this is a powerful signal. Secondly, as I mentioned just a few days ago, even on the website of the supreme leader, the senior Iranian advisor to the supreme leader, former speaker of the parliament, Ali Larijani, gave an interview saying that Iran is basically ready to or willing to talk to Trump, and this is on the supreme leader's website. So these are sort of this is not the way the supreme leader used to talk in 2020, which is we'll never talk to Trump. We'll never do this. So now they're basically being much more realistic, which is they didn't get anything with the Biden administration. The region is free falling. They need a ceasefire in the region, not just in Lebanon, in the region. And they also need a deal to stabilize their relations with the US and maybe improve their economies a bit more. So what a deal looks like, what negotiations look like, we will see. What they're willing to give up to get what, we will see. But at least what they're saying is that they want a diplomatic path. They're signaling they want a diplomatic path. And they've put in place a team that has diplomatic experience and actually wants to make a deal.
One last quick question. I ask all the people I meet in these interviews, one reason of hope for the region for 2025.
It's very difficult to think about the region hopefully. But I think the biggest reason of hope is that the way Trump thinks about war, that he might stop the war. I mean, that doesn't mean that there would be peace for the Palestinians or the Palestinian state. Or it doesn't mean that the region is out of the woods. But at least the current bleeding, the current instability, if it stops, then other possibilities can come forward. Then Saudi Arabia and UAE and these countries can then come up with ideas that can take shape in the environment of no shooting.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me. It's great being here.